Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep on the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host, Jacob McCourt, and today I've got two friends with me. My first friend, he's a boy who's getting married real soon. It's Luke Lewis. Hi.
Hi, hello. This is true. 1 year is relatively soon, but
Yeah.
yes.
It's gonna go really fast.
This
you
is
usually
true.
host, so I don't remember your moniker, so I was just like, you're getting married.
That's my moniker.
That's your moniker.
The engaged one. Oh wait, I think that's someone else.
One.
I think that's someone else.
I mean, that's you now, so.
Okay.
We have a second guest, a special friend tonight, from the PlayStation Drive. It is Ngachacha, aka Matt. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here to talk about remasters, remakes, and how I'm part of the problem of why we have so many of them. But very excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
Hell yeah. Happy to have you.
Of course. Before we get into the icebreaker and the main topic of the show, for folks who don't know who you are, please tell everyone about all the things you do.
Like Jacob said, it's Ngachacha over at the PlayStation Drive from Carpool Gaming. We do a PlayStation podcast every Saturday night live on YouTube, usually after dark, late in the evening, around 10:30 p.m. And it's on all the podcast feeds that you can find on Spotify and Apple. We're not very well structured, in my opinion, but sometimes it's more fun that way, where we talk about our favorite RPGs, our favorite PlayStation consoles, and who knows what we'll talk about next week. It's usually what four friends are excited to talk about, with myself, Ryan Turford, Foolish Fuji, and my main man Savoy Prime. So we talk about PlayStation and other wild things on that podcast. It's a lot of good times.
Well, again, please check out the PlayStation Drive. It's available on YouTube and all podcast services. Matt, thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm going to throw the icebreaker question your way. This is how we start all of our episodes. And today, it is a relevant one. We are talking about remakes and remasters. So I'd love to know, just off the hop, what's the most recent remake or remaster that you've played?
This is an easy answer because I'm currently still playing a remake of a game, and that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Let's go.
I'm about 30. Yes. Fun story about that one is I never played the OG as a kid, so I don't have any nostalgic attachment to it. I only played it in my late 20s, just to catch up on the hype. I hope I don't make the internet mad, but I thought the game was fine. It could have just been dated at that point. So, you know what? When I jumped into Remake, I didn't have that childhood attachment to it, and I loved it. It's my favorite platinum trophy. It's hard.
Ooh,
Sometimes
nice.
it's aggravating, but it's such a worthwhile experience. But just love the characters. The music is just S tier. I love the combat. Like, sometimes I'm hit and miss with turn-based RPGs or even like live action RPGs, but somehow whatever Square Enix magic they did, where they combined the two combat mechanics, like, I think it works fantastically. Like, it just, the music and the way the combat works, like, it gets me so pumped up. I feel like I can run through a brick wall sometimes. And Rebirth just knocked, it's so far, I'm not done yet, but it's just knocking it out of the park. I feel like it's just an actual sequel. You know how some people say this is like DLC or whatever? Rebirth isn't that. Like, I feel like it just saw what didn't work in Remake and kind of tossed those things aside and made it better. Are you two playing Rebirth? Have you played Remake or fans of the OG?
I feel like we might all three of us have the same answer. Luke, is your answer also Rebirth? Because mine is Rebirth.
Yeah, I'm currently playing Rebirth as well. I was going to throw back to the most recent one before that, just to throw in something different. But yeah, Rebirth, big game, turns out. So yeah, I'm still very much working my way through it, and games continue to come out. So I've gotten sidetracked a couple times, but excited to keep plugging away. But yeah, it's awesome. It's I'm sure we'll talk about it more in depth on this podcast, maybe in a spoiler fashion at some point. But what a game!
Yeah, I'm like 5 hours in, and like you, Luke, I got mega sidetracked. I think it's actually Balatro's fault that I did not continue playing Rebirth, because it went Balatro. What else did I play? I've been playing Let's Revolution, which is another roguelike that's been taking up my time, and I started Pepper Grinder, and so this is not about those games, but I played 5 hours, and I do not, like you, Matt, have like much attachment to the original game. And even despite that, going through the sort of demo sequence to chapter 1 and having that moment with Sephiroth, which I will not spoil, even though it's in the first 5 hours of the game, like that just shook me to the core. So if that's the way the game starts and it continues throughout, I'm in for a hell of an experience if I don't get sidetracked playing a bunch of Queen's Blood for hours and hours.
Oh my God, Queen's Blood,
It's so
Fort
good.
Condor. They're so good. Not all the mini games, but those ones are
Yeah, that's fair.
so good.
I need to know what your
So
hour
good. But
count is
no,
like, Matt. What is it at? Do you know?
it's 35-ish, but
Okay.
I'm insane because I am going for the platinum. I don't know if I'll be successful, but I'm going for that platinum. So I'm doing everything. I'm prepping myself for the hard mode, which is very punishing. So I am doing things in a more difficult fashion. Like I'm not using items, so I can't revive myself
Oh,
yet because I don't have
whoa.
the materia yet. Yeah, when I'm facing the summons, like I fight them at the full might, and I don't exploit their weaknesses because look, I don't know if you two played Remake on the hard mode, but like it's punishing. So like I'm like I might as well get used to the pain now before I get into hard mode, so that's not as drastic. Because when I did the platinum run for Remake and I tried hard mode, I was like, holy crap, this game does not mess around.
My partner's twin brother is a huge Final Fantasy VII nut, and had told me because I just played Remake in the last couple of months in preparation for Rebirth, and so I asked like, "Hey, what's the hard mode all about?" And he said, "Oh, you can't use healing items." And just that alone, I was like, "Nope, not for me.
Nope,
I'm a
never.
baby. Nope. Sorry." But hey, I'm glad you're doing it to
It
yourself.
it it does teach you to play it differently, so it's not easy. But yeah, like online says Rebirth Platinum's like 200 hours, so that was a little bit daunting. But I'm like, you know what? If I loved Remake so much, then I'm gonna keep going with Rebirth. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm all about the remasters and remakes. I love them.
Luke, I think you had maybe one more you wanted to touch on that you've hit and played
Yeah,
recently.
I was gonna throw out Resident Evil 4 remake that I played
Nice.
last year, which I never played the original Resident Evil 4, and the remakes
Whoa.
have kind of been my foray into Resident Evil. I loved Resident Evil 2 remake. That was my game of the year in 2019. Really enjoyed 3, but not quite as much. And then I feel like the hype leading up to 4, like I from so many trusted folks, I have heard that Resident Evil 4 was one of the greatest games of all time, like action, survival horror, one to be remembered. And so I was really hyped for this one. And I took the day off from work because it came out over my birthday weekend. So my fiance Claire was at work, and I was like, I'm just going to play. And I played all day, and it was such a blast. And I had such a fun time going through that game. And there's a ton of quality of life things that I know they added. And I think it's a really nice balance of like we can get into kind of what makes a good remake, but I think that game strikes into a really nice line of honoring the original but making it feel like a modern experience. So really enjoyed that one.
You might be like a little bit too young to have because the original came out in 2005. So I just was doing my mental math and going like, you might have just been like a year or two too young to play that one.
I think it's because I was an original Xbox kid. I didn't have a
Oh, okay,
PS2 or a GameCube, which I think is the
okay,
one system it
yeah,
wasn't on,
you're right.
if I recall. So, because I think otherwise I would have been at the like like 11 or 12, like give me the edgy zombie game age. So yeah,
I
it's
love
just a
it.
fluke that I missed it, but had a blast going through the remake.
I love it.
It's so good. It's so good. Did you play the DLC, the Ada Wong Separate Ways?
No,
I think it's free,
I
right?
need to get to that. I should double
It's
back.
it's it's it is excellent. It's a little
Awesome.
bit different combat.
Okay.
But yeah, that parry system in Resident Evil 4 Remake, it's so
Hell
satisfying.
yeah.
She has like a hook shot thing, and that like changes the gameplay completely, right?
Just kind of like Spider-Man, but you know what? That's Resident Evil. Like they just go off the walls and I'm
Yeah,
all
the
for it. Just
hell
do
yeah.
it.
That's
Just go
awesome.
for it.
That's our icebreaker, Luke. You made a comment, and I want to hit on that as we transition to the main
Sure.
topic of the show. So today we're talking about the ultimate list of remakes and remasters that we need to see. The intention at the end of the show is to come out with a list of 15 games that we absolutely want to be remade, remastered, re-released, and maybe just send them into the internet and hope for the best. But before we make a list and start screaming at each other about what deserves to be on the list more, Luke, you said hey, what makes a remaster or a remake good? I guess I want to just open up the floor and just ask the question. What makes a good remake or remaster?
I honestly think that I don't want to get too complicated into it, but I think price also kind of dictates what makes a good remaster and a remake. So if it is a simple remaster of a game, but I'm being charged, what are the cost of games here, Jacob? Like 89.99,
Yeah,
I
after
think,
tax, they're
plus tax.
$101.
So if we're getting charged 89.99 for literally just a remastered with up-res graphics, to me that's not a good remaster, right? But if you're charging me 39.99 for it, and I'm able to play it on a current platform that I'm because I don't want to be digging out my PS3 or like my GameCube all the time, right? So if I have the accessibility to play it and I'm not paying a fortune for it, I think that makes a good remaster. But I think Luke nailed it out of the park in terms of like a good remake. Like I think he was talking about like, it's taking the original concept and breathing new life into it. Like Luke, you played Resident Evil 2 remake, is that right?
Yeah, loved it.
Did you play the OG?
No, that was my. I might have played. I think I played Resident Evil 7 before I played Resident Evil 2 Remake. So I think 7 may have been my first Resident Evil game, which is a very drastic departure
Yeah.
from a lot of like the roots of the series. But yeah, 2 is dope. Very, very good game.
Yeah, to me, Resident Evil 2 remake's one of my favorite games of all time. And to me, that's a perfect remake, not just because obviously it's beautiful with the shiny graphics, but as an OG fan, you're getting the nostalgia hits with the classical music, you're seeing the characters, but it changes stuff. Like I know Resident Evil 2 OG like the back of my hand. Like I can run through it in like 3 hours. So when I picked up Resident Evil 2 Remake, I thought I knew exactly where to go, where the monsters are coming, and the game's like, nope, you don't know where you're going, even though it looks familiar. So the fact that it can modernize a game but make an OG fan feel like I'm still getting my childhood feels, but at the same time it's still a new experience, that to me is a perfect remake. And it's not easy. I'm not saying that everybody should be doing it all the time, but if they, you know what I mean? Like I don't want games to be remade just for the sake of it, just because it's an easy way to get money. But if they're truly able to look at what made this game special and how can we get new players into it, like Final Fantasy Remake got me into Final Fantasy 7 even more so. But if they can get us new people into it and still bring the old people into it in a meaningful way that it's adding something new to it, then hey, I'll pay 89.99 for it. Glad I'll take my money, Capcom. It's fine.
I think you anchoring it to price is a consideration that I'd actually never thought about because I've recently purchased a lot of collections, right? Which I wouldn't even really call remasters. We can like litigate specific ones if they, get widescreen, like Sonic Origins, for example, I think got widescreen modes for a lot, so you could argue that's sort of a remaster. But even a collection, at PAX East, I ended up buying the Castlevania Advance collection, which I think just does a little bit with some of the graphics for the games, which I guess you could sort of call remasters, but in one package you get 4 games. I recently bought the Ace Attorney games because they all came in one package and they were relatively cheap. So price is a great consideration when thinking about remasters. The last thing I'll say is I touched Shadows of the Damned at PAX East, which is one that is being remastered coming out soon. And not to like disparage it, but like they didn't really do a lot of work. But even getting it on modern consoles, if it's $40, $30, I might still bite on it. So anchoring to price for remasters, I think, is a great way to think about it.
And just even thinking, like, I'm a really big fan of The Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2. Like, I bought The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. Again, it's the pricing works and it doesn't work. Because I know if you have the original, I think it's like 10, $15 to upgrade. That's fine. That's a reasonable price. But I think out of the gate, like you buy it from GameStop Digital, I think it's like, was it 59.69? And on the PS4, The Last of Us Part 2, I think no, the OG, the original one on the PS5, I'm pretty sure it's already up to 60 frames. I'm pretty sure. Like, so how much more are you getting? I know there's a new mode in The Last of Us Part 2 remastered and some new skins, but is it really worth like 59 or 69 out of the gate? I don't. I'm a Naughty Dog fanatic and Last of Us fanatic. So for me, yes. But when I take that stuff out and I think logic with my head, the answer is no. Like, come on, like that's too much for, um, really a packaged game that I don't know. I don't know if they did enough to warrant that price. So I think that's something to consider. But I'm part of the problem. I buy the remasters and I buy the remakes. I'm sorry.
I think that brings up an interesting point too of like who is the audience for some of these remasters. Like, are the developers making it so that a game that's like I don't want to say unplayable, but let's say less than ideal in its current state? Are they making it so then the first timers experience is this like exceptional experience in modern context, or are they making it, to your point, as more of a cash grab? Like, I love The Last of Us 2, and I enjoyed those remasters because I just love playing those games so much that it's like, all right, you gave me an excuse to replay it, let's go. But it is this thing of like, did you just make it so that it's on the store shelf for when the season 2 trailer drops? Like those sorts of things of like, is it ethical? I don't know. Did I still buy it? Yeah, I did.
I mean, if they release a package that's beautiful and has season 1 and season 2 of the show, and then the game part 1 and part 2 in like a beautiful package, am I gonna buy it? Yes, because I'm a sucker.
Yep.
And they know it, and they know it. So
And they know
Totally.
it.
I don't know.
So we've talked a little bit about some of our favorite remakes, remasters. Before we dive in and build a big list of stuff that should be remade or remastered, any other like major call outs for stuff that, we've talked a little bit about remasters, but anything remade that you are absolutely like, yes, it's phenomenal, more people should play it, these devs deserve their flowers on it?
I think I used to have a very clear cut picture of what a remaster and what a remake was. Like a remake is like ground up, totally new gameplay systems, and a remaster is it's on the new platform and better graphics. But then, Nintendo kind of does stuff where it's like, I don't know if it's a remaster or remake anymore. I'm a little bit confused. And that's not necessarily like a bad thing. Like I'm thinking about like Skyward Sword HD.
Yep.
Like it's better graphics, it's full price because Nintendo's,
Yep.
but technically playing, with the analog controller, it's very different from the Wii motion controls from the Wii. And that whole adds a different new mechanic to it. So I'm like, is it a remaster? Is it a remake? I don't know anymore. And then even like Metroid Prime Remastered,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was in the title, Remastered, but they added a lot of quality of life stuff to it too. So I'm like, technically, isn't that a remake? I don't know. So sometimes the lines get blurred for me now. I'm not sure anymore which one's remaster, remake.
Well,
Thanks to
Nintendo's a
Nintendo.
weird edge case of like, you bring up more examples. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door that's coming out like very imminently. How much work did they actually do to that thing? Probably not a lot. Remaster, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But still full price.
But still full price, sucker. Luke,
I think
any big remakes or remasters you want to call out here?
I think we've touched on like the biggest ones, but I think what Capcom has done with Resident Evil is really like kind of the gold standard for a remake for me, of like just making really quality games that are smartly designed, that feel good to play, that new and old fans can enjoy simultaneously. And I think Final Fantasy is doing that as well. So I want everyone to just look at what they're doing. But I also think there's a place for remastered games and stuff like I don't know if you'd call Cruise and Blast a remake, but it's definitely like shouting out that era of those games where it's like it's not meant to be this like groundbreaking technological thing, but it is giving me that blast of nostalgia, pun intended. That things like that, just different qualities of remakes, I guess. Like there's a place for all of these. It's like frozen pizza versus like gourmet, you know?
Yeah. And then some of them like don't always come out in the best shape. I think of Halo Master Chief Collection as a great example of
Yeah.
something that when it came out, incredibly rough. But by the end of it, we had an Xbox version that was mostly fine, that was mostly good. So they don't always come out great out the gate, but sometimes you have no other way to play them.
Ooh, I
I
also
don't know if that's
oh
enough. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
oh
ahead, Luke. Go ahead.
no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to give a shout out. We didn't mention Blue Point Studios yet,
Yeah.
and I wanted to throw out Demon Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, both really cool remakes that I think that team is another one that like knows how to like take what was special about a given game and bring it into the modern era.
You don't think it's enough, Matt?
No, I don't say it's not enough. That's not what I was gonna say. Yeah, I do want all the remasters to make it's true. It's never going to be enough. But no, I was um I was thinking about just like how you're talking about, and we were discussing this earlier about, the purpose of the remasters remakes. Like, is it really because there's a passion to bring an older title so that people can play it on modern consoles? Is it to bring new players into it, or is it a quick money grab? And I think what you mentioned, sometimes they come out too rough, and it's like, well, it's pretty obvious that this wasn't for the right reason, and it's almost it's almost frustrating and almost like a slap in the face to the OG fans, where it's like, well, now you're just almost tainting the memory of it. Like when I think about stuff like the GTA, like the Vice City
Yeah.
trilogy when it
Yeah.
came out. Like I was so excited for that. I was so excited because I love Vice City. I love San Andreas, and when I saw how rough it was, I was like, it's heartbreaking because it's also like you're not showing the respect for like a beloved property. It's almost like if you're not going to do it properly, then just leave it. But they wanted quick money, and then people bought it. So it, it's frustrating sometimes. It really is.
I mean, I was on a work call with somebody who knows I'm a gaming guy, and so we had a couple minutes left in the phone call, and he said, "So Jacob, what's going on with that Star Wars Battlefront collection? What happened?" As we know, like the multiplayer servers were just not ready for the capacity that the game they had the place for a couple hundred players when like thousands of players wanted to play this thing. So online performance is crap, and that's what that whole game's about. So to me, game it can be really bad when like the normie sphere I say that with love, Josh. The normie sphere like gets the game and is like, man, this thing is broken. So just goes to show you like failures can be small or they can be large, like Halo Master Chief Collection or Star Wars Battlefront. Okay, well, I think we've talked a lot about remakes and remasters here. So what we're going to do here is build out a list of the 15 games that we want to be remade or remastered the most. And the format we're going to do it with is these guys, myself included, are just going to throw out some of their suggestions, and we're going to build a big old list up to, let's say, 25 to 30 games. And then from there, we're going to get all savage and start cutting them to get to a list of 15. I also have some recommendations and suggestions from folks on Twitter. So as we're using our brains and thinking, I'll make sure to throw some of those out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to see this beautiful blank doc that I have. And I think what I must do here is send it over to Matt, our esteemed guest, to provide his first suggestion and the reason why it needs to be on the list.
So obviously, I think we're all going selfish here. Like, which are the remasters
Yes.
remakes that we all want?
Uh-huh.
All right. So my list is all selfish. The one that I
Give me your
really
number
want to
one,
be
your first
remade.
one.
First one is going to be Dragon Guard, which is
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah,
I like
it is
it.
stuck on the it is stuck on the PS2. So the reasons why it needs to be remade is number one, it's rough.
Mhm.
I've never played it, but from what I've seen from the internet, the gameplay is cheeks, which is what my co-host would say when something is really bad. Shout out to Savoy Prime. The gameplay is cheeks, is what I heard. So it does need to be rebuilt in that sense. Graphically, I mean, it's stuck in the PS2 era. Not that those graphics are bad, but it's 2024, so it does need quite a bit of polish. And the third reason is people are like foaming at the mouth for more Yoko Taro Nier games
Yep.
after Nier Automata and Nier Replicant. So to go back and remake Dragon Guard would easy money for Square Enix. Like I'm there. Like I was ready to buy a copy now for $200, and I don't even own a PS2. Like that's just me.
Matt, keep me honest here.
Nice.
So the timeline there, having only played the Near Automata, Drakengard is a past version of Nier, where thousands of years in the past, Drakengard takes place, and then Nier happens.
It's honestly, Jacob, there's barely even a connection from the
Okay,
ending of Dragon Guard to Nier, but there's like it's like one thread, and crazy fans are like, "Yep, they're connected. It's all one universe," and I'm part of it. I'm like, "Yep." Even though when you look at the stories, like they're it's completely different. But you
Love
know what? I want to
it.
see where it all began, even if it's one thread. I'll take it.
I love
Give it
it.
to me.
I
Nice.
love it. Drakengard, our first game. Luke, what's your first one?
So the theme of my picks tonight are really I would love to play this game, but I want to play it in a modern context. So I'm gonna kick things off with Metal Gear Solid as my first
Ooh,
first pick on the PS1. I
which
feel like
version? PS1. Okay.
yeah, it's one that I would love to go back and play. I missed it back in the day, but I historically a lot of my picks are in the PS1 N64 generation, and I think those games are folks were still figuring out how to do 3D, and they're tough to go back to now. So I think it would be a great remake, and there've been rumors for years. So let's just do it.
And I don't know if either of you have played the Metal Gear Solid Collection V1 that came out, but friend of the show Katie Lesbrunce did, and was saying that like the game doesn't really do anything except make it playable on modern consoles, which like given the weird controls, not weird, the controls at the time of that one, is a little bit disappointing to hear. I don't know, Matt, have you played the original Metal Gear Solid?
I played the MGS one through the PS3 collection.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's excellent, and I
Sure.
can obviously go back and imagine what 13-year-old Matt would experience. I probably would have my mind blown away from the story and stuff. But yeah, the gameplay, it takes a long time to get used to. But so yeah, that one's on my list too, Luke. That's a good choice. Good choice.
Luke, on my list was actually Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, the GameCube
Oh, okay.
remake. So I feel like we were on the same wavelength there. But I'm not going to
Nice.
waste a pick now because
Nice.
you threw it
Now,
out there. So thank you.
is that a remake of the PS1 version, or is that like an up-res version? Because those are still essentially the same game, right?
Yeah, so my
No.
understanding and
No. Okay.
Matt, keep
Cool.
me honest here. So I think on that one it
Yeah.
was Silicon Knights that made it, and it
Mm-hmm.
actually the engine they used might have been the number 2 engine because it looked and felt a lot like 2. And I
Oh,
believe Kojima
interesting.
worked with Dennis Dyack, who did Two Human and then X-Men Destiny before that studio closed down. One that's actually really close to where Matt is in Canada and then shut down. But it's sort of a remake. Is that
Interesting.
what you
Okay.
call it, Matt? A remake?
I would call it a remake just what based off Jacob said. Like
Okay.
it is a new gameplay style. Like 'cause MGS2 does play way better than MGS1. Better graphics, but to me the biggest reason is that they re-recorded all the voice acting. So they brought in David Hayter, that brought everyone back to redo it all over again. And from what I've seen on the internet, because I haven't played it, but when I watch the videos, it's very ham and cheese, very cheesy
Hmm.
in Twin Snakes. So if Jacob wants that one to be remade, you know what? I'm actually all for it because I
Yeah.
want to play
Why
that one
not?
because
Yeah.
they're very different. They're
Okay.
very different.
Why don't let's get both? I'll play them both.
Yeah,
Sounds
let's
great.
do it. But I'm not gonna waste
Okay. Yeah. What do you got?
my picks here. So I'm just gonna put Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, and we can have that debate later.
Okay.
I get a freebie because I'm the host today, and I get what
Why
I
not?
want. I'm gonna stick on the GameCube train of thought, and I'm actually gonna go for Custom Robo on the GameCube.
Ooh.
Did
Okay.
anyone here play Custom Robo, or is it just me?
Didn't
Don't
own
know
the
that one.
GameCube. Yeah.
Okay, so imagine like if you watched any of those like 90s era cartoons like Cubics. Did anyone watch Cubics? Just me?
I don't think so.
Okay. It's basically Pokemon, but instead of you capturing creatures and making them fight, you build robots that fight on like a very small miniaturized field. And so it's half RPG and half you are fighting robots. And the actual gameplay is a real time action from a top down perspective where you have a robot who has, you can pick the legs and the guns and the torso that give you different abilities, and your job is to just take down other robots in an arena. So think like BattleBots, but instead of them like crashing at each other, they are humanoid robots that are shooting each other. It probably
You're
doesn't.
selling me on this
I
game.
haven't
Sounds
played
fun.
it in a long time, and I bet you it's sort of doo doo to play in 2024, but it's one that my heart needs. My heart needs Custom Robo, and we haven't seen it. Only one iteration made it to North America on GameCube, but I think there's 2 versions in Japan, one on N64 and then one on GameCube, but my heart needs it. It's been too long.
Are there any sequels to it or
No,
anything like
it
that, or is it
stopped at
just
the
the one?
GameCube. There might have been a
That's
DS
rough.
game actually, but there is a DS game, but there hasn't been one since. So
I
that
feel
one
like
is.
I
that
can't believe I missed
warrants
this
the
game. Sounds
remake
pretty good.
too. Of like, yeah, let's bring back a franchise like that. I like that.
Yes.
It's a good argument. It's true.
I'm going to bring in
It's
one
true.
from Discord before I throw it back to you,
Sure.
Matt. And this one comes from Court Lalonde. And instead of just writing the answer, Court just included a GIF of the original Infamous for PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good choice, Court.
I like
Good
that.
choice.
I like that.
Hmm.
Matt, back to you.
The second game that I really want to be, and I do feel like it does need the remake a treatment, not just a remaster, is Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Yep.
Now, I am going with that one instead of 5, 6, or 0 or 1, just because I don't feel like enough people played Resident Evil Code Veronica, just because um, it was stuck at that weird time of Resident Evil where it still kept similar tank control styles ish, but they didn't have pre-rendered backgrounds. There was twin stick, you could dual wield guns. Very off the rails, by the way, the story. But so that one needs like the full Capcom remake treatment, like Resident Evil 4. And I still want some cheesy humor, but I do feel like it does need to tone it down a bit so that it's still got the same vibe as Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 remake. And I think just enough, I think more people need to see what that one's about because everybody knows about 2 and 3, and most people know about 5. And my guess is they're making 5 next. But I think I want more people to see Code Veronica's. We need more games with Claire Redfield. Like she's the queen from Resident Evil 2, so we need another one with her. It's criminal that we don't have one.
Can I ask about the lineage of that one? It was it PS1 first, and then it got like an upgraded version on GameCube, or am I misremembering?
It came out on PS2 and Dreamcast. I can't
There it
remember. Now
is.
you're testing my Resident Evil memory. I don't remember if it was Dreamcast first and then PS2 later. You can play it on PS3, but again, like it's quite dated at this time. It does need a remake treatment for sure, but I don't remember anymore. I'm pretty sure it's PS2 Dreamcast.
You are absolutely correct that it came out on Dreamcast in 2000, PS2 in 2001, GameCube in 2003, and then there supposedly was a version re-released, or not re-released, but just released on PS3 and Xbox 360 in 11, but it has not been touched in 13 years.
Yeah, come on, Capcom. I'll buy it.
I'll take any Resident Evil. Whatever Capcom wants to do, I will purchase.
Luke?
I'm gonna go a little out of left field. I have a couple, I would say, mainstream picks, but I'm gonna grab one of my props here from my desk, and I'm gonna pick Crimson Skies
Hey.
on the original Xbox. So
what's
for
the
folks,
subtitle in that one?
this is High Road to Revenge.
Perfect. Thank you.
With a box quote for video listeners: best Xbox Live game, IGN E3 2003.
Damn. Another
Anyway,
reason for people to be watching the video version. Luke, go
yeah,
ahead.
all the little treats and Easter eggs. So for folks that aren't familiar, this is a flight combat game. It is really, really fun. It had a wonderful single player and multiplayer mode with a cool story, very like kind of like the tone of an Indiana Jones adventure, like very action packed, very, very blockbuster esque. And I played this game a ton with my dad as a kid, and we would do dogfights against each other, or we'd pass the controller back and forth playing the single player. But it controls really well. You can customize your planes and fly different styles of planes. You can get all these cool upgradable weapons and things as you're maneuvering through. And the story was really, really fun. And I think a modernized version of this, with photorealistic graphics and like just over the top on the technical level, I think would be a ton of fun. But this game had a lot of character and style to it that I miss this franchise. And this is similar to one like your custom robo pick, Jacob, of I don't believe this game ever saw a sequel or anything after the original Xbox game, but in this era of Microsoft having access to IP and studios to make new versions, it seems like an awesome Game Pass day one title for Xbox Game Studios. So,
Matt, were you an OG Xbox kid?
I've only gone to Xbox this generation, Xbox
wow.
Series S.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And fun fact, I haven't actually played an Xbox exclusive game. It's just been like a
Whoa.
Game Pass machine. Yeah, it's just been a Game Pass machine for like indie games and like Persona. It was a Persona 5 machine last year. So I love it, but just I don't know what it is. I just haven't dived into like Halo Infinite or Gears. Just all these indie games just keep coming out. Like I just played Thirsty Suitors on Series S with Game
Nice.
Pass. So that's been occupying my time. So I don't know Crimson Skies. Can you play it on Series S or X, or is it stuck on the OG?
I'm fact checking myself right now.
It might be backwards compatible.
It's backwards compatible, and then yeah, it's also on Game Pass right now. You can download it, at least the original Xbox version. So, and I'm pretty sure I haven't popped in my disc recently since I got my Series X, but I think it's one of those ones that is like Xbox Enhanced does some things. So it's probably a fairly pleasant experience because I thought the game controlled pretty well back in the day, but it has been you know, that box quote's from 2003, so do the math that it could use a touch up.
Keep me honest here. Last question, Luke, on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I remember really distinctly because I loved and played a lot of this game as well. To like flip around your ship or your plane, you'd have to do stuff with like both sticks, right? Where you either have to like move them in a certain direction to flip your
Yeah.
plane around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a lot of like you're doing barrel rolls, you're doing maneuvers, and like it felt really cool to like pull off moves and tactics in the sky. And I remember the AI being like at the time pretty impressive, like
Mhm.
reactive to what you were doing. So it's a good one.
I love it. Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge. I'm going to stick in the same vein here, and there's a tie between the game that I'm going to put on and Crimson Skies, so prepare yourself for it.
Love it.
I'm putting Mech Assault on the list, the original Mech Assault for the Xbox, and the tie is Fossa Studio, who developed Crimson Skies for the Xbox, ended up co-developing Mech Assault 2, and they've also done a bunch of Mech Warrior games with
Okay.
like weirdly that's the connect between them. But Mech Assault, to me, when I think of OG Xbox, Xbox Live, one of the first thing that you played, before Halo 2 was a big thing, Mech Assault was the thing. It's the game you got that sort of showed you what it was like to play online on a console, and Mech Assault was just such a fun game. It was a game where you'd run around an arena as specific mechs in a team, whether it was just a death match where you'd have to kill all the other the mechs, or you'd play a game of capture the flag. Mech Assault is a dope game, and I know that I believe there's been Mech Warrior games since, but to me, Mech Warrior scares the crap out of me. That is too complicated. I just want it, a dumbed down mech game that I can play, and very much like Crimson Skies, would love just a remake that almost harkens back to the Xbox Live Arcade days, where it is a $20 package, where the graphics are up-resed, maybe you get a new mode. Like, that's really all I'm looking for this one. Mech Assault Classic. That's all I want. I don't think it's too much to ask.
Love it.
Any big Mech Assault fans between the two of you? Maybe not
Never
Matt,
heard
but
of it.
Luke.
I feel like I
Sorry.
played it.
No.
This might have been like a Blockbuster pickup, on a Friday night. This feels like I don't know if I owned it though, but I feel like I touched it for sure.
Okay. We're going to throw another pick here from the community. And this time I am going to pick Seth Sturgill. You might know him, Matt. He had two, but I'm going to throw one on here that I feel like we just need. Jet Set Radio Future is
That's on
another
my
game
list. That is on my list.
There, you get a free one.
Well done.
Jet Set Radio Future. That was an Xbox title, so that was from Seth. Matt, you're up next.
My next one, I don't even know what platforms it came out. Like I played it on PC way back in the day, and that's Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. I think
Yep.
somebody on Twitter
Yeah.
put that
Yeah,
too,
Steve
and
Wiseman put that
like
on Twitter. Yeah.
it makes no sense that whoever owns the property, I don't know if it's Eidos or somebody else, has not remade this game or continued with this franchise because I know I'm not the only one that was obsessed with Legacy of Kain. That game is just the world building itself, like it just blew me away. I'm pretty sure I was like 15 or 14 I played it. Like it just blew me away. And I didn't even play the first game, but I was so invested in this story of vengeance. I think I'm pretty sure you're like a vampire that gets shafted by your one of your general vampires, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're on a revenge path. There's stuff with going with like the Ethereal lane, like with people that are dead. You suck up souls, obviously, because you're a soul reaver. Such a good game, really deep story and history to it, but it needs a remake because I don't want a remaster where I'm pushing the cubes anymore
Yep.
for puzzle solving. I know that's like a little trademark of that generation, but like we don't need to be pushing no blocks in 2024. Like you can come up with some better. I'm all for the puzzles. I am. I don't need to be killing everything, but puzzles that I'm just pushing some blocks around. We need something else. So somebody just they need to remake this. Everybody wants it.
Yeah, I've never played it, but Amy Hennig wrote on that game, and it might have
Yeah.
been one of the first credits she had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That explains a lot then. Like it's such a rich story. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
that's my context to it because I didn't play it, but I love the Uncharted games, and so I'm like, I would absolutely pick up that remake just to kind of see her origins as a writer and stuff too, from a video game history standpoint.
Yeah, I've not played Legacy of Kain, but that one, I don't want to sound wrong here, but I feel like that IP might have got embraced, which means we
Oh,
might.
did it?
I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like given that they own Crystal D, that I don't remember if Crystal D
Oh,
was involved or not, but I I'm afraid that IP got embraced. We never know though.
I'm
no.
trying to remember. They mentioned it in the recent documentary that NoClip did about Crystal Dynamics,
Hmm.
and I can't remember exactly what was said, but it was murky waters of it. Wasn't like because that studio loves that IP, and essentially we're like, yeah, we'd love to make the game, but it's not really up to us. So, which is
Rough,
unfortunate
rough. Well, hey, we
That's a
we can
shame.
dream. We can dream.
for sure.
Luke.
Okay, I'll do a mainstream pick that I think needs to be on this list,
Hmm.
but I'll throw out Super Mario 64
Ooh,
because the
okay.
All Star Collection that came out on Switch, while I'm glad it exists, it was a disappointment because I want to play that game in HD. I want the textures to look good. It's historic, it's iconic, it's one of arguably the most important games of all time. I would love to see what a Super Mario Odyssey team could do while harkening back to the nostalgia of 64. So I'll throw out 64.
Did you play the DS version?
No, I did not.
Okay. Again, it had a map on there, I think, and then they threw in some mini games as well. Like there's a very famous like Luigi deals you cards mini
Because that was a
game.
launch game, right, for
Yeah,
the
it was.
DS. That
It was.
okay.
But again, it doesn't do much for textures and graphics, and like you said, the Switch All Stars version is not. So maybe some new graphics, new coat of paint on that one.
Did you want it like a full overhaul remake in terms of like new gameplay mechanics and like different level designs, or you would just want it keep it as is, it plays the same way, but just give us actually better graphics?
I could go either way. I'm not like a Nintendo purist, so I'm not like don't touch my game, don't touch my level design, but like I as someone who like I like video game history, I like learning about like older games, like I would be totally fine if it like played exactly the same but just visually looked really nice. Like I just wanted them to do something with it rather than just giving me the same game I could play elsewhere. But maybe that makes it a weaker argument for staying on this list. We can we can hash that out.
Nah,
I feel
we'll
like we're
get
all going to
there.
be
We'll get there.
very
No,
nice and fight it out in the nicest way possible.
that...
I'm going to go and throw Def Jam Fight for New York on here.
Okay.
Have either of you played this one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was on the GameCube, wasn't it?
It was. I think it was on Xbox, PS2, and GameCube.
Yeah, pretty sure it's like a Blockbuster rental. It was
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
Yeah, so for people who haven't played it, there's also I think a version on PSP that was a little bit different, but essentially it is a fighting game where it's developed by Aki, who Aki did like a bunch of the like old school wrestling games that you love, like WWF No Mercy on the N64, and so the fighting was just really good, and so you could end up fighting like Nor versus Snoop Dogg. Maybe there's Ghostface Killer. I think Ludacris is in that game, and so that you could fight it with all these rappers. But the single player campaign is really the thing that I always think about like going to take down Snoop Dogg because he burned down your crib and stole your girl. Maybe I don't remember, but the Snoop Dogg literally burns down your crib, and you just have to take down a bunch of other rappers and gangs along the way, and you can pick between 5 different main fighting styles. You can be a wrestler or a brawler, and each one played very differently. And sometimes you were doing a wrestling match, and sometimes you were basically in a fight circle where you had to fight people. It's just I have such reverence for it. And they did 2 more Def Jam games, one that was a music-ish game and one that was more of a fighting game that graphically looked cool but was just not the same. So I just want me some Def Jam Fight for New York, y'all.
Good pick. Very good pick.
Thank you. I'm gonna grab another one here from the community, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll do a speed round where we'll get maybe at least two more picks from everybody on here. I'm gonna grab this one from Matt Sawinski. He also put a GIF, and his GIF was of Golden Sun for the GBA.
Love it.
I saw that. And I was wondering, like, does he want like a HD remaster, like Octopath Traveler, or is he talking like full blown remake, like 3D graphics? Because I feel like that'd be a different experience. I'm not saying, hey, either way, I'll take it. I'd play
Sure.
either one. I'm wondering, like, remastered, better graphics, keep it the same, or like full blown, like modern. I'm wondering what would be
Yeah,
better.
I debated a lot of like pixel art games or like GBA era things, and I feel like those games visually hold up really well, and like you can still go back to them. So it foreshadowing my next pick. Some of these ones that I'll argue for, I feel like are also just like good test cases to get a sequel of like remaster it if it sells well, justifies
Yep.
new game.
Yep.
So I think that's some of my argument for some of these.
All right, let's do a little speed round here,
Sure.
and maybe we'll get three more picks from everybody on the board here. So just let me know what the game is, and then a really short pitch of why you think it belongs on there. Matt, we're throwing it to you.
Uncharted 1 needs to be remade.
Yep.
It is fantastic. It's when it started off, but it's rough. It is super rough. The gameplay cover, like the shooting mechanics, like doesn't hold up. We that one needs to be remade, not remastered.
Luke.
I'm gonna go with Bully on the Xbox
Oh,
360
okay.
because it's a fantastic game. Not enough people talk about it. Everybody talks about Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead. Nobody talks about Bully. For the most part, there are folks. Shout out to Blake Hester, formerly of Game Informer. I know he's a big Bully fan, and he did a very cool feature about how there was almost a sequel to this game, and I want that game to get made. So I think they should do a remake, test the waters. If it sells well, we get a sequel. That's all I'm saying. We need Bully. It's a good game.
Same era, Luke. Different genre completely. I am gonna bring out
Yes.
Burnout 3 Takedown.
This is why we're
Because
friends.
this is why we're
friends.
That to me is peak. Look, Burnout Paradise is a very good game, but it is a different experience.
Mhm.
There are very few games from a racing standpoint that come at you with that arcade goodness, and the crash mode in itself. I think some of the devs tried to go and make a driving game that was Burnout 3, but it was more of a downloadable thing, but it wasn't the same. I just want Burnout 3 again. Give it to me. Matt, back to you.
I'm gonna go with Castlevania 64 on the
Ooh,
N64.
okay.
Now, the gameplay is horrendous, and I say that even back then when I played it, it
Such a
was
good
horrendous.
pitch.
But the vibe was there. Like it captured that dark mood of you have to take down Dracula. There's werewolves in the night. There's skeletons. There's monsters, and you're the only one that can do it. So they got enough there to remake it. Just change the gameplay though. Like I don't want to carry bombs that explode when I jump.
Luke.
I'm gonna go with. Let me glance down my list again. I'll go with Banjo Kazooie on
Ooh, okay.
N64. I've gone back to it. There's ports available on Xbox now. It plays pretty well, all things considered, but I think that one could benefit from some modern controls, some up-resing. But it's an awesome game. The music's fantastic. I'd love to go back to it.
I'm gonna stick to a sports game state of mind here, and I'm gonna put NBA Street Volume 2 on the list.
Good pick.
Now I know what you're thinking, like, Jacob, they put out a bunch more of these. They put out Volume 3, it had Mario on the GameCube, and they put out another version for like 360 and PS3. But, this game just was peak multiplayer on the PlayStation 2 sort of generation of consoles. And I just, again, I want just this game remade. We're nostalgic and we want things from our youth. It's a thing. I admit it. But NBA Street Volume 2 is very good. Let's do one more each. What do you guys think? One more or two more each?
How many do we have on the
We can do
list
one.
right now? Yeah, whatever works.
We have 5, 10, 15. We have 19 on the list, and I'm going to throw in
Okay.
a couple from the community as well. So
I
why
think
don't we do one more?
sounds good, so we don't have to
Cut
kill more
hard.
of our
It's gonna be a bloodbath.
remake babies. Yeah.
Matt, over to you.
I mean, if this game is actually coming, that'd be great, but I still want it. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's from GameCube. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, if it's really coming, who knows? But fantastic game, but it's stuck on the older platforms. And in my opinion, like I didn't mind the tone, but I think I would prefer a more darker tone, more serious, as opposed to like the. I mean, I don't mind some humor, but I think we need a remake. Like let's get it on modern platforms. Everyone needs to play that game.
Agreed. Luke.
I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy VI,
Okay.
a classic. One I never played because I jumped in late into the Final Fantasy series, but folks talk about it very fondly, and I think it would be cool to see what's a reimagining, what's a Final Fantasy VII remake look like of six.
And that one is Super
Also, like
Nintendo.
full overhaul.
Yeah,
It is.
why not? I was debating between 6 and 9 because those are the two that I hear folks talk very fondly about. I know 10 is also well regarded, but that one also feels too recent for like a big overhaul. But you could almost change my pick to Final Fantasy game that diehard Final Fantasy games recommend asterisks. So
I was gonna say, some people like Final Fantasy VIII. Like you could pick any.
Yeah.
Some people are like,
sure,
yeah,
like
remake that
people
one.
love 12, people,
People love
so
9.
yeah, so I would take
Yep.
more Final Fantasy, which we'll probably get at some point.
This last pick's really tough. I'm gonna stick on the GameCube, but which GameCube game? I have a lot of GameCube games on this list. I am gonna put Beautiful Joe on this list because I think Beautiful
okay.
Joe is
Pick.
criminally underplayed, and I think it was a PS2 and GameCube game. I don't remember if it was part of that Capcom initiative where it was like Piano 3, Killer 7, all those like weird games that came to GameCube. Don't know if it was part of that, but
Mhm.
Beautiful Joe is a very good and unique game that almost was indie before indie was indie. And so I just love to see, even if it's a collection of that too and Red Hot Rumble, I'd be very happy to see that.
Good pick.
Let me
Love that game.
pull a couple more from Twitter. So obviously, I put an ask out on my Twitter account and said, "Hey, what are some games that you want remade?" I need to include one from one Adam Gumbert. Again, sticking to the original Xbox. This is Brute Force for
That's
the
a good pick, too.
Xbox. That was from Adam Gumbert. And we've got Ryan Turford from your show, Matt, says Parasite Eve.
Ryan really wants me to play that game, and it's almost working because I do own it on the PS3 because I love survival horror games, so I do want to check it out, and I love RPGs.
Is that one originally on PlayStation 1?
PS1.
PS1, okay. And then I think we'll maybe include one more here, and this one is from Dave Jackson, and Dave said Xenogears.
Solid.
Oh, good. I don't know
Solid.
how to pick from this list.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh
Awful.
boy.
So here's the fun part. Now we have to cut. So I guess I want to ask you guys how you want to do this. Do you want to say what games we all agree should be on the list and save those first, or make easy cuts?
Whatever's the least painful because it's already hard.
I think we can lock in a few and maybe cut a few
Okay.
just to start the
All right.
narrowing down process. Like,
Okay. Let's lock in a few.
for
Let's lock-
example,
Go ahead.
the Metal Gear Solid, either Twin Snakes or PS1 version, we were all, I feel like, equally excited about that one. So
Oh,
I would
yeah.
say one of those
Yep.
should definitely be locked.
That's on the list.
Okay.
I mean, we could just
100%.
be cheeky and just say like both of them and like dealer's choice on
I
how
think
it wants
that's
to be remade.
yeah. I think that's fine.
But-
I'd say similar thing
together.
for Resident Evil Code Veronica. Like
I would agree.
I'm very passionate about that one as well.
Matt, how do you feel about
Veronica?
Code Veronica?
Code Veronica works, and I like your thinking, Jacob. Like Metal Gear Solid 1 and Twin Snakes, one experience. Just put them together. But
Exactly.
Code Veronica, yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
So
Dealer's
there we
choice
have
of
two.
like what do they want to give us? You know who?
Mhm. So we have these two locked.
Okay.
Anything else on here that we all can agree on? I think. Let me throw one out there. I
Sure.
think we're all fans of Uncharted.
I agree. I think that it's really rough. Like I remember playing Uncharted 2 and 3 recently, and they still hold up. 1 really doesn't. It's bad.
Here's the struggle, though. It's like imagine like you're using your political capital to make these happen. I would want to play this
Hmm.
remake, but is this the remake that needs to be made the most?
That's kind of where I'm at, because like I personally would want to play it, but Uncharted's already, we're getting a blockbuster movie. I'm sure there's another game somewhere in the works, whether Sony Ben's working on it or somebody else. But like some of these franchises, I
That's
feel
fair.
like we need the remake to like reignite. And granted, we're not publishers, we're not greenlighting these games, but in this scenario, there is an argument to be made for like, if we don't get a Bully remake, will we ever see another Bully game? I don't
Fair.
know. I'm not saying we have to
You're
add
no,
Bully to the list right now. I'm just thinking out loud.
that's fair. If we don't get a remake for Uncharted 1, is that the end of the world? No, because in my opinion, you can still play, they still have the Nathan Drake collection, or you can still, I'm serious. You can play Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3 on the PS3, and they still hold up, and you're still getting, you're right, you're getting your fill of Naughty Dog games from Uncharted. There should be some more games coming out soon, hopefully, at some point
Granted,
with, yeah.
sorry, totally finish your thought. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, I assume we're getting more with like Lost Legacy, but sorry. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say was we need an Uncharted 1 remake way more than we need a Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2 remake.
Yes.
So I do
Yes.
think there is an argument to be made there for your pick, for sure.
Okay, I tried for an obvious
Fair
one.
enough.
Matt, why don't you like throw an obvious one out there that you think the three of us can just agree to pretty quickly? I think you said one that we all
I'm trying to
agreed
think of
on.
one. I want to say Legacy of Kain, but you two haven't played it. I know you've heard about it. You know what? I think we need Final Fantasy VI. I think that one because I personally haven't played it, and so many RPG fans yell at me to play it because
I
it's the
just
best one of the series. But go
Yeah,
ahead. Yeah,
I want that one on the list, and I would argue for it, but I just don't want all the RPG fans coming at us saying it's already good. What are you talking about? We don't need a remake. And like, okay, if you say we don't, I trust you. But like, from my perspective, it seems like a good choice.
I think
modern polish doesn't hurt.
I
Yeah,
think Prince of
exactly.
Persia: Sands of Time was the one that we all sort of went yeah to.
I'm
I
all for it.
I love
I
Prince of
want a modern way
Persia.
to play it.
Yeah, I'm super
Put it
down.
in.
Wow, that was easy. Okay. I love it. Because that Prince of Persia remake, or not remake, the spiritual successor or reboot that featured the voice of Nolan North, that was all a lot of blues and reds, like was not the same. I want this game remade.
Lost
Any
Crown's
other?
real good, but it's not the same. It's a different style.
Mhm. Any
I
other?
think all of us went ooh for Xenogears, didn't we? Did everybody say ooh for Xenogears? Or was it just me?
I did say ooh. I did say good pick.
I don't know. I
Jacob?
don't know much about it. That's like sell me on it. Sell me on it.
I've just heard many good things again from RPG fans. That's why. And I'm assuming there's some ties to Xenoblade Chronicles. Am I wrong, Luke? I think I don't not direct connections, but
I
none? Am I
to
reaching for
I
it?
don't think I'm not super familiar with the series to be honest, but to my understanding, they're like adjacent franchises of like
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say this, but like a Kingdom Hearts to Final Fantasy type thing.
Google says spiritual successor, so I think
Okay, so
Matt, you're
that
correct.
feels okay. Great, good. We were in the
I'll take
ballpark.
it.
Love it.
I love Xenoblade Chronicles. Give me Xenogears remake. Give me the origins. I'll go for it. Give it to me.
Hmm.
Not selling you on it. Do you like
No,
RPGs,
Should
Jacob?
I'm
why
getting
don't
into
we
it more lately.
Okay.
may I propose? Should we do a round of cuts?
Yes.
Should we throw out some
Sure.
cuts? Because I have a couple of my picks that I'm not gonna like. For example, I would love a Super Mario 64 remake, but does it absolutely need to happen? I don't know, you know what I mean? But maybe that's too big of a game to immediately cut. I'd also throw out what else did I throw on this list?
Bully was yours.
Yeah, I'm not ready to cut that yet.
Banjo Kazooie was yours.
I guess Crimson Skies of this list. I don't know if it hangs with some of these, even though I like it a lot. The like upresing still available on modern consoles makes me question it.
Yeah, the fact that you can
We can
download
cut.
it on Xbox Series for like $10 or on Game Pass makes me go like, maybe not.
Yeah, I think.
This is
Okay,
tough.
maybe it
We
wasn't.
we can cut Castlevania 64. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person on the planet that has any emotional attachment to that bad game.
Did you
You can cut
play
it.
Lords of Shadow 1 or 2?
No. Is
I,
it good?
I
I heard
love.
they're
I
good.
really liked. I only played the first one, but I really liked it, and I think that might fill that void that you're looking for.
Like a 3D Castlevania game. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can cut
like
it 64. It was
yeah.
rough.
I am
Let's
willing
see.
to cut Beautiful Joe because I think I was the
Is it
only
kind of still holds
person.
up?
Yeah, it's
I liked it.
it's hard to access. You like it too, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, you do. Okay.
I also
That's the
like
only
it.
thing.
That's one that I could make the argument same
Oh.
as Bully of like we get Beautiful Joe then warrants
No.
sequel.
See, I think Beautiful Joe still holds up. Like if you have a GameCube,
Hmm.
it doesn't
Oh.
look the best, but I think the controls work. Whereas Bully, I think you do need to keep because those controls aren't fun anymore.
Okay.
And like you
Okay.
said, not enough people play it,
Can we
and we
just
need more
should we
sequels for
just
Bully.
lock in Bully? Can we
I'm
lock
fine
in
with
Bully?
locking Bully.
Love.
Yeah,
Okay.
not enough love for Bully, and it doesn't hold up anymore. It doesn't. Gameplay wise, story wise, almost just like it's, in my opinion, up there with GTA. Like it's funny.
I feel like I need to cut one because we cut Castlevania 64 for those who are listening on the audio. So I'm willing to lose because it sounds like Beautiful Joe. There's some popularity here. NBA Street Volume 2. I'm willing to lose if there's no love for it. I think it's
I
just
know of
me.
it, but I
It's
don't
one
love
that
it.
I think
It might just
still
be.
holds up. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a very good game. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah. Maybe we just need a sequel of it. You know what? I'm willing to follow my sword for NBA Street Volume 2 and cut that one. It is gone.
Okay, by the same logic, I feel like we should cut Crimson Skies then, because I feel like good game that you can't access that deserves a sequel
It's
maybe
gone.
doesn't need the remake. Okay.
We're at 21. So we don't actually have to cut that deep here.
Is Infamous available on PS Premium, or is it
Ooh.
stuck on the PS3?
I believe
Because
so.
I
Let's do some
because I played
recon.
it, I played it, not too far ago, and the game holds up. I'm just wondering because if it's available on PS5, PS Premium, then technically you can still play it on a modern platform because it is a good game, and I do want more Infamous games, but you can still play it. Maybe we can cut it,
Sure.
and then
It looks like it might still be stuck on PS3, but that doesn't mean that you can't play it on like PS Now.
oh, I see. Yeah, maybe see, and you can still play. What's the other Infamous game that they have? Like Second Son,
Yep.
that's on PS4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other Infamous game is better, but Second Son's still good.
It looks like you
And I
can't
think there's
play it.
another one like a DLC. You cannot play
It
it.
looks like it's not something I can pull up on the PlayStation Store.
I was about to be
I
like,
say
we
you can
just
still
got
cut it.
Second Son, and I'm like, that was 10 years ago. What am I talking about?
So are we
That was
putting
on
Infamous on the
PS4.
list?
I say you can cut it. You still get
Ooh.
other games in there.
With
You can
cut
still play Second
Infamous?
Son.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I want it, but
I don't know,
I
guys.
almost
There's
want a
6 games
sequel
I would
more
cut
than a
before
remake,
this.
though, personally. Like, I just want more Infamous. I don't necessarily need it to be
Oh,
that one.
oh, I didn't think of that. Like a sequel with Cole or a different character.
Ooh.
Either or, I guess, I don't, because let's feel out the room here, because I think there are several picks where I'm like, I want a remake because I want to like be in that world again. But with several of these picks, I would take a sequel if it was
Mm.
in that world again. But does that
That'll
disqualify?
help quite a bit.
Does that disqualify it from the list? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we could go either way, but it's just an interesting lens.
You're not wrong on that. Like you can cut out Legacy of Kain and Soul Reaver if I'm getting a sequel to it. Like I don't have to have the OG remade. I just want more of that world.
I
It's not a
feel
bad
like if
line of
we
thinking.
haven't seen a game since the play, like in multiple console generations, it still warrants being here. Infamous kind of skirts that line though, where it's like it's been a
PS3.
while, but I'm
Mhm.
not arguing against it. I'm like just like neutral party here.
Am I the only person who custom rowboat here?
Correct.
You're selling me on it, but I never
It
played
was
it.
a strong argument. I wouldn't cut that yet.
Okay. I'm sort of coming around on Uncharted.
Cutting it up
No, on
because we
putting
have
it
so
on the
many other
list.
Uncharted games.
Oh, and
I'll
put
put it
it
on the
on.
list. The
Okay.
OG. I'm okay with it. I like that. I do want it to be remade because it's rough, and some people have only played, Uncharted 4, and they don't know the origins of
Put
Uncharted
put it
1
put it on
because
the list.
it
See
is
how it
it is
how it feels.
yeah,
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
yeah.
There we go. Done.
It's a strong narrative. Like you do have to keep it going. Super Mario 64.
I feel like
I
we
don't know
can cut
anymore.
it. I feel like I'm the one who put it on, and I feel like we can cut it. There are games I'm more excited about seeing. Ultimately, the question also then becomes, it's like, do I want an Odyssey 2 or a new game, or do I want them to remake 64? And it's like, kind of want the new game.
New
Kind of
game.
want the, yeah.
New game.
I mean, they could always give it
100%.
to a studio like a Feel Good, or a studio that does um who did the soccer games or the Mario sports games.
Oh, I'm blanking on the studio, but yeah.
Not Camelot. Camelot could do it, but there are studios that could do it.
Sure.
Hmm.
I'm cool with
Hmm.
cutting it. Are we all cutting it?
Yeah, I think so.
We can cut it.
Okay, we're
We can
cutting
cut
it.
it.
So the 20 games left for those audio listeners: Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, Code Veronica, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, Bully, Uncharted, Xenogears, Drakengard, Custom Robo, Infamous, Mech Assault, Jet Set Radio Future, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, Def Jam Fight for New York, Golden Sun, Burnout 3, Banjo Kazooie, Final Fantasy 6, Beautiful Joe, Brute Force, Parasite Eve. Only need to cut 5
That's
more,
just
and we are not going to create a rank list because then we will be here all night.
5 more.
May
5
I
more.
may I poke at one
Yeah.
for the consideration of the panel? Golden
Do
Sun.
it.
I love Golden
I
Sun.
was
It's a wonderful
I was gonna
game.
poke the same one.
Do we need
Hmm.
it? Do we need a remake though?
I just bought a Golden Sun cart to play in my analog pocket, so I'm good
I
with
was gonna
cutting it.
say, like you make a good argument. Like the GBA games, SNES games, like that graphical style holds
They're
up.
Yep.
just awesome. They're
And
Yep.
still awesome. Like,
yeah, hmm
do I
I say
want
we
another
cut for that
you
Golden
can
reason
cut
Guns?
it.
only.
Do I want another Golden Sun game? 100%. But yeah,
We can cut
I'm
Golden
good
Sun.
cutting it to narrow this down a little bit.
I'm so sorry, Matt. 4 more.
Sorry, Matt.
Good game. Very good game.
Why don't we
Good
put
game.
some up? Why don't we put 5 more up?
Okay.
To help.
Did we all get excited by Burnout 3 Takedown?
I got really excited about Burnout 3 Takedown.
Never played it, but if you two love it, go for it.
Yeah.
Tell me why again needs to be remade. Tell me why again needs to be remade. Like, does it not hold up anymore?
Luke?
Is that one backwards compatible? Can I pop that
Oh,
into
no.
an Xbox? Because I think
That
that
invalidates our
kind of.
argument.
Because well, not necessarily, but here's the thing with this game is that I think it's like the pinnacle of the Burnout series, and they've gone and done different
Oh,
things after the fact. Like this was really like the the gold standard formula for me for arcade racers with the crash mode, and it's so fun, and there's something about just like the way it played on that console at that time that I think hasn't been replicated in the same way, even though there have been good racing games since.
It
mhm.
appears as though you can buy it digitally on Xbox.
Okay.
That initially
If
there
we
was
What's the
back
pinnacle?
compat
if we
issues.
need to narrow the window, I might use a similar argument as Crimson Skies,
Okay. So it's
but
it's
I'm
really
not I'm
hard.
not quite ready to cut it yet. But maybe we should find other ones to move up first. I
Yep.
was
I'm
really
trying to just other ones to
excited
move up.
about Legacy of Kain.
Yep, I'm
If
with you.
if that's a series you love, Matt, that's one that I've always been interested in. So that seems like a prime candidate.
You're right. We're not getting sequels for that game. Remake that one.
Yeah,
If they wanted a sequel,
yeah,
they'd have done it a while ago.
let's be strategic with our list. Maybe there's an executive with money listening to this episode. Help us out. Help us out. You
I
don't
like
have to
that.
pay us. You can have the idea for free. It's
Yep.
there.
Yeah, exactly. Drakengard. What's that game play like? I know have you like spent a lot of time with it, or is it just something you've appreciated from afar, Matt?
Just from afar, and everyone says the gameplay is horrendous. Like it's a third-person action game. You have to fly as a dragon, and it's awful. And that's why I argued it does need to be remade. But again, like how much story does it connect into Nier? It's like people said it's like the silly ending from Dragon Guard that connects to it. So does it need to be remade? No. Like if I just get more Nier games from Yoko Taro, I'd be satisfied. So you can cut it.
Okay. Okay. I will cut. Um, we now need to cut 3 more. Are we putting Final
Have you two
Fantasy
played
6?
Parasite Eve?
I have not.
Mm-mm. Similar.
Have you? Are you? I'm told it's like Resident Evil, but RPG style, like OG Resident Evil.
Ooh.
Does that sound like something you want to be remade?
Just based on the era of console it's from, I imagine so. And it's one that's like, I've always heard interesting things about it, but it's difficult to get access to. So that feels like a solid candidate to me for this list.
I know there's 2 or 3 more games from Parasite Eve, but I think they're also stuck on PlayStation. Like I don't think Square has touched that franchise in a while.
I'm
Or
just
maybe
gonna
there was like a
Google one.
PSP port, but that was probably just the PS1 version playable as like a PS1 classic on PSP.
And it reviewed
I'm gonna go
incredibly
off the
well.
side. What did it get? I'm just
It's an
curious.
81 on PlayStation and a 79 on Parasite Eve 2 on PlayStation.
I mean, the way I'm imagining it, if it's like OG Resident Evil with RPG mechanics, like I will play it, I will like experience it, but is every modern gamer gonna go back and play his PS1 game? Probably not. So if it did get like a full remake treatment, like Capcom does with their Resident Evil games, where it's modern graphics and modern RPG mechanics, maybe they reignited a new franchise. That's how I see it. If they remake it.
I
I
like
mean,
that argument.
it looks pretty cool.
It feels more meaningful than a couple of these ones. Like I put Banjo Kazooie on the list. Actually, no, I'm not going to use Banjo Kazooie as my example because I think that should be on the list. But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea that like by making a remake, it introduces generations to a long dormant thing. Like I think that's
You know what? For your
worthy.
co-host, I looked at a little bit of gameplay. I'm just like, this actually looks pretty cool. It sort of feels like Signalis, which is based on the
Oh,
original games.
yes.
Yeah. You know what? For
Yes.
Ryan, we're gonna put Parasite Eve on this list.
Love it.
I think
I
it's
love
one that none of us
Signalis.
have played, but enough of us have heard people talk about it that let's throw that one on the list and hopefully we can play it someday. Um. Hmm.
Torn on Beautiful Joel because I know nobody can play it now, but I still feel like the gameplay still holds up. Like it's still hard.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know. I'm torn. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you went back and played it, I think it still holds. Like, it can go toe to toe with modern games. I think the mechanics still work, but not everyone has their GameCube or their PS2 to play it. So I want more people to play it.
There's a world where I imagine Banjo Kazooie being remade by Double Fine. Like that is in my mind like a
God, I'm
dream
gonna
that I've
cry.
dreamed. Yeah.
I would lose my freaking mind if that was
Yeah.
announced.
Look, I want them to make original
Put it on
stuff,
there.
but also
I just even if whether it's the rare team, whether it's the ukulele team, whether it's
ooh,
Double
yeah.
Fine, like I just feel like there's lots of teams out there that would love to play with that IP, and the fact that we haven't had like that the last major Banjo Kazooie game was Nuts and Bolts in 2008, which I loved, but it's not a traditional 3D platformer, collectathon, and it's just such a great genre, and it's family friendly, and there's no reason we don't have a Banjo Kazooie game these days, like a new one. So I
Put it in there.
yeah,
Put it in there.
Okay,
There's enough Banjo fans that want to remake.
done.
Paris Lily somewhere out there is just like thank you, did this for me.
A Paris Lily got his wings tonight.
Love it.
Um, are we at the point now where it's like 2 voices get it on the list? Because really, we just have to cut 3 more.
That seems reasonable.
Okay, why don't I go
Seems
through
fine.
some ones that we felt pretty positively about? We haven't actually talked about one of them, but Infamous.
I could go either way.
I'm okay cutting it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I'm okay
could.
okay.
cutting it.
Wow. Okay. Let me just say more. Def Jam Fight for New York.
I selfishly want to play it for myself.
Okay.
I don't know if other people will though. I want it.
Same. Like I don't think it's the most financially responsible choice to fund this game, but I would like to see it happen.
So it sounds like
The
that one's on the
licensing
list.
alone. Put it in there.
Yeah.
Like financially, the licensing,
Yep.
the permissions, and what you're allowed to do now. I don't know.
But like how
I want to play it
but
again.
don't you want to watch like 6 months of news stories of the development of that game unfold as they fight for those licenses? And
Mhm.
That would be
I
amazing.
think it'd be
No, I
pretty
selfishly
entertaining to
want that
watch.
one.
Yeah. Yep.
No one here has talked about Jet Set Radio Future.
I never played it.
It's sick.
It's really freaking good. It falls into the similar camp of Banjo-Kazooie to me, of like such a good game. I think modern audiences would resonate with it. Is Jet Set Radio included in the Sega remaking everything
Yes.
Crazy Taxi? Oh,
Potential
well, I almost feel
metaversal
like
thing.
I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before, but I feel like because of that, maybe it doesn't need to be on this list since it's already happening.
I'm down with that logic.
Your call. I've never played it.
Okay, we're gonna cut it, Seth, just because there's a
You're
potential.
getting it's happening. You're
one.
getting
It's
something.
happening.
Yeah.
So we just need to cut 2 more here.
Does Final Fantasy VI need a remake? Probably not the most. I'm not the expert that can answer that question. I mean,
I'm not
Some- like-
either,
like
and
you
I'm
said,
the one
Luke-
who threw it out there, so that's questionable at best
You're
on my
right.
end.
people could yell at us and say, "Just play the original. It's fine."
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
So
we
in the
did
lower list-
eliminate in the
Good.
same logic as Golden Sun. Should Final Fantasy VI be eliminated? Of
true. Because the graphics hold up, the gameplay
well,
still holds up.
and you can play it on Steam. You can play it with the Pixel remaster. You can play it on, I believe, DS and GBA and SNES. Like, there's a wealth of places to play that game.
You're right. Take out Final Fantasy VI.
That
and with
feels
that
like
logic,
a weird thing, but I that makes sense
No.
to me at this late stage of the podcast.
Okay, we just need to.
By
take
that
one
logic,
more.
we should.
I'm gonna
You should put in
make
Beautiful
sure
Joe.
my DMs are not open when this podcast goes live, and
Well,
carry
here,
on.
let's just hit the ones we think. Brute Force. Luke, were you and me excited about
Oh
that?
no, that game.
Yeah, I think that feels prime for a remake in a lot of ways.
I'm also like mega Brute Force. I played the crap
Yeah.
out of that multiplayer. So like based on that alone, I'm willing to put that up. Matt, any ones that you're like, I think this should now be on the list now that we're here?
I really think Beautiful Joe does need to be there.
I'm there
Like
with-
it's
I'm there.
stuck on it's stuck on old platforms people can't play, and it's not enough even people played it even on the PS2 and GameCube, and it's so good.
I'm there. Luke, put one up.
I think we need to re-win the RPG fans back and get Xenogears on here, because a PS1 era, I think, makes a lot of sense to have a remake done, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things about that game.
And Dave Jackson has
Okay with it.
great taste, and you know
Mhm,
if it's even loosely connected to the Xenoblade Chronicles, then we need it.
I'm for it.
Are we putting Burnout 3 Takedown up there?
I don't know it. I'll let you guys decide.
Luke,
You said it's the pinnacle.
it's
of
the
Burnout,
pinnacle
right?
of Burnout.
I flip it back to you, Jacob, because you have
Oh.
3 out of these 4 games are your picks.
Oh, they are. Oh no.
So I would say, and to be fair, they can all be on the list. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you have to pick one or the other. I'm just saying,
I'm gonna tell you what
Um,
I'm gonna cut. Ready?
what's the passion level? But you don't have to cut. I'm not saying you have to.
cut.
Okay. You don't have to do that.
But I want an Infamous remake,
Okay.
so I'm good
Okay,
with a Mecha
Then
Assault
you're
cut.
then you're the one to make that call, I think.
All right, let's read this list of.
Got to
15
cut one
out.
more.
No, we're at 15.
Oh, we did it.
I think we're good.
Oh,
That's a good list.
we did it.
That's a good list.
Okay, let me read it out for the audio listener, and then we can have some final thoughts on this list before we run home before people get in our DMs. Remakes and remasters that we need: Metal Gear Solid and or Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Prince of Persia Sands of Time, Bully, Uncharted, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, Parasite Eve, Banjo-Kazooie, Def Jam Fight for New York, Brute Force, Beautiful Joe, Xenogears, Custom Robo, Infamous, and Burnout 3 Takedown. Matt, as our guest, is there any big omissions here or anything you're feeling that you need now before we close the show?
No big omissions. Like this is an excellent list, and I think what I'm looking at when I see that I think all of us picked was that this is a lot from the N64 PS2 generation where 3D graphics were still being introduced. It's a bit new, so it's a little bit rough. But we have such fond childhood memories of these games, and you go back and play them, they just don't hold up. Whereas we kind of established like when you go back to SNES, GBA, those ones do hold up. So it's cool to see that pattern. But good list, very good list.
Luke?
Yeah, I agree. I think it came out really nicely. I think it's a nice combination of things we're nostalgic for and things that we always wanted to play but maybe didn't get a chance to. And I think we have a nice diverse selection of a genre, and yeah, I'm into it.
There's fighting, there's racing, there's RPGs, there's action games, there's platformers. She's a really good list. So again, this is our list of remakes and remasters that we need. So publishers, take this one for free. It's yours. Please take it. Make these games again. But also, we want new stuff, so no pressure. That is our latest episode of Crossplay Conversations. Before we close, Matt, I need to know where folks can find you, your work, and where they can get in your DMs and yell at you about your choices.
If you want to yell at me for cutting out some certain games, you can find me at Ngachacha on Twitter. And as I mentioned before, I'm one of the co-hosts for the PlayStation Drive from Carpool Gaming. You can check us out on Saturday nights on YouTube Live and all your podcast feeds. And thanks for having me. It's been a really good time.
No, of course.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So happy to have you. For the show, before we close, I need to tell you three things. Follow the show on Twitter at Crossplay Conversation. Nope, that's not our Twitter account. It's Crossplay Convos. Crossplay Conversations is the name of this program. Send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts. And give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice because it really helps. And even if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, because I know there are some of you that are not subscribed and you're watching more than one video, please hit the sub button because it really helps. Before we close, Luke, got anything coming up that you want folks to hear about?
As always, you can go over to the Lukewarm Games podcast and check out what Claire and I are working on. We're on a big farming and plant game kick with a recent episode about the state of farming games. And then we also have a review of Botany Manor, a recent indie game coming out. So check those out.
Cool. And I'm posting my talking head video game content on YouTube as well as TikTok now. So you can find my YouTube just at youtube.com/JacobMcCord. It's very easy to find. And with that, my friends, we bid you adieu and say we remake Hamlet all the time. That's sort of what we do, humans.